ever try to bend a spoon with your mind, at a party or something?
Yeah, who hasn't?
It seems like every few years, there's a new movie or show that makes you wonder, what if there is something to this whole psychic thing?
Right.
Well, today, we're diving into a story where that question wasn't just for fun. It was a serious topic of interest for the CIA. We're talking Project Stargate, the CIA's exploration of psychic phenomena.
I'm intrigued already.
And at the heart of this story is a man whose name is practically synonymous with psychic claims, Uri Geller.
Oh, I know the name for sure. Spoon bending, mind reading. But wasn't there a lot of controversy around him, too?
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to get into all of that because what we're looking at today isn't about blind belief. We're going to dig into the CIA's own findings, their tests, their conclusions about Geller.
This is going to be good.
It really is fascinating stuff. A lot of our information today comes from an interview Geller did with journalist Ross Colesart. Really intriguing details in there.
Okay, so where do we even start with a story like this?
Well, we've got to rewind a bit back to the late 1960s. Geller, who, fun fact, was actually related to Sigmund Freud.
No way, really?
Yeah, so Geller's already got this, air of mystery about him. And his abilities, or these purported abilities, caught the attention of Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency.
Makes sense they'd be interested in anyone who might have an edge like that.
Exactly. But even they knew they needed more than just anecdotes, so they bring in the CIA.
Wow, so this is serious business now.
Oh, yeah. The CIA decided to put Geller through some serious testing at the Stanford Research Institute. No slouch of an institution.
I can only imagine the pressure on Geller, knowing people were skeptical. And now he's being scrutinized by the CIA.
Oh, he knew the stakes were high.
Yeah.
And get this, they put him in Faraday cages, constant surveillance. They even investigated if he had a hidden transmitter in his tooth.
Seriously, a transmitter in his tooth.
That's what they were checking. They were thorough, I'll give them that.
I guess when you're dealing with potential psychic phenomena, you've got to rule out every possibility.
Right. And there was this one experiment, the grape test, that really highlights how careful they were trying to be. Someone would draw a picture of grapes, but not just any number of grapes, a very specific number.
Okay.
Geller, sealed away in this room, no way to see or hear what was going on, had to replicate that drawing.
What happened?
He nailed it. Not just the shape of the grapes, but the exact number, 24 of them.
Hold on, how could he have known that? Was there any possibility of trickery?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, and it's where we need to bring in some expert insight.
So, about that no trickery thing, it is Uri Geller we're talking about.
Oh, trust me, I get it. The skepticism is totally understandable. In fact, there was an article back in 1979, Nature magazine, I think, that claimed Geller had peeked at the drawings during the Stanford experiments.
Oh, really? How?
They propose all sorts of things, like maybe he'd seen it through a hole in the wall, even that he'd stuck cotton balls up his nose to sneak a peek.
Now that's creative. But come on, those experiments were run by Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ.
Exactly. These were serious scientists. Their reputations were on the line.
Right, they weren't going to risk their careers on some half-baked, poorly controlled study.
No way.
Yeah.
And honestly, the biggest hole in that whole Geller cheated theory is that Faraday cage.
Good point. That's not just some sci-fi term. It's designed to block all electromagnetic signals.
Exactly. Radio waves, hidden communication devices. If Geller was using some kind of trick, that cage would shut it down immediately.
So we've got the CIA taking this seriously enough to bring in respected scientists, rigorous testing conditions. What was their final verdict? Did they think Geller was the real deal?
Well, here's where it gets even more interesting. In their own declassified documents, which, by the way, are publicly available now.
I love when that happens.
Right. So in these documents, the CIA states, and I quote, that Geller demonstrated his paranormal perceptual ability in a convincing and unambiguous manner.
Wow. They don't mince words, do they? Convincing and unambiguous. That's a pretty strong statement from the CIA.
Right. And remember, this is after putting him through the ringer with all those tests. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about Geller.
It wasn't. I thought he was like the guy for Project Stargate.
He was a big part of it, definitely. But Project Stargate was part of a much larger effort by the CIA. They were looking into something called psionic phenomena.
Psionic.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like a superhero power or something.
Right. Essentially, we're talking about telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition stuff that seems to defy our conventional scientific understanding.
And the CIA was pouring resources into researching this.
They were very interested in it, which, if you think about it, makes the secrecy around it even more curious.
Totally. If they were convinced it was all nonsense, why not just say so? Why all the clandestine operations, the classified documents?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And you know who has some interesting insights on this whole secrecy thing? Geller himself.
Oh. What does he have to say about it?
Well, it kind of ties into some of his own personal experiences, specifically a pretty bizarre event that happened when he was a child. This is the part where things take a turn for even more unusual.
Oh, definitely. We're about to step into some pretty strange territory.
Because this wasn't just like the CIA messing around with ESP cards in a lab. Geller had some experiences that, if true, are just, hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, let's talk about that sphere of light story.
Oh, yeah. The incident when he was 6 years old.
That one.
Right.
Remember, he described this sphere of light appearing to him in a garden, then this beam of energy knocking him to the ground.
I mean, on the one hand, kids have wild imaginations.
Oh.
But then,
decades later, after Geller tells this story in a documentary, he gets an email.
Don't tell me.
From a retired Israeli Air Force officer who'd seen the documentary. This officer said they had witnessed the whole thing as a kid.
No way.
Yes, and it wasn't just a vague memory. They even remembered specific details, what Geller was wearing, what happened to the sphere afterward.
Okay, that is pretty hard to explain away. Like, what are the odds?
Right. That's what's so fascinating about Geller. These almost impossible coincidences, these synchronicities, they seem to follow him around.
It's like there's something bigger at play here, something we don't fully understand.
And that something bigger aspect comes up again with the whole Wernher von Braun connection.
Oh man, here we go. For anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about the father of America's space program.
Yeah.
The guy who helped put us on the moon.
And according to Geller, von Braun shared a secret with him that would make the moon landing look like child's play.
Wait, seriously, what kind of secret?
Geller claims that during a meeting, von Braun showed him a piece of metal supposedly from a crashed alien spacecraft.
He's saying von Braun just showed him this.
That's what he says, and then it gets even wilder. He claims von Braun took him to a secret facility and showed him alien bodies.
Okay, now that is a claim. I mean, this is Wernher von Braun. Why on earth would he reveal something like that to Uri Geller?
It's the ultimate question, isn't it? Unfortunately, we don't have any definitive answers, only more questions. But we can speculate.
Let's hear it.
Well, Geller himself believes that von Braun, burdened by his past as a former Nazi, felt a profound sense of guilt, maybe even a need to atone. He proposes that sharing this secret with Geller, a Jewish man whose people, suffered greatly during the war, maybe that was von Braun's way of trying to make things right.
That's a heavy thought, but a really interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
So if even a fraction of this is true, the CIA research, Geller's experiences, von Braun's confession, why keep it a secret? Why not tell the world?
That's where the whole national security argument comes in. Imagine the panic, the global instability, if it came out that not only are we not alone, but we're maybe not even at the top of the, cosmic food chain.
It's almost too much to process.
Yeah.
And if you connect it back to what we were talking about earlier, Geller's belief in synchronicity, in these signals from a higher being. Maybe those signals are all around us, but we're just not tuned in to the right frequency to hear them.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Project Stargate and the enigmatic Uri Geller. We've gone from spoon bending to secret government projects to possible alien encounters. It's a lot to unpack, and we encourage you to do your own research, look into the source material, and come to your own conclusions. The most important thing is to keep an open mind and never stop questioning. And who knows, maybe you'll start to see those coincidences in a whole new light.